Get a picture in your mind right now of a social situation. It can be personal or business. Now, see yourself there in that situation and answer these questions. Why is it important for you to make an exceptional first and lasting impression? Why is it important? What will impact this? Social anxiety will impact this. It will steamroll you. It will make you freeze. Well, in this video, we are looking at Empowered Connections Part 11, specifically impression management skills. I'm your instructor, Louise and Maurice, and we are going to look at social anxiety and how to overcome social anxiety. I'm going to provide you with 5 social intelligence solutions to overcome social anxiety, because at the basis of social anxiety is stress. And any social situation, whether it be personal or business, where you feel stress, where it is so important for you to make that great first impression, that sometimes you sabotage yourself and you end up making a very poor first impression, and that's the lasting impression people get. And the worry and the fear before you go to the event, during the event, and the ruminating after the event really will just cause so much anxiety. Let us overcome that. Now, the symptoms of social anxiety, you might be aware of that. Now, this might be something that you don't struggle with, but maybe the clients that you deal with or the work team that you manage, they might be struggling with this. But it's the nervousness, the apprehension, the fear, the dread, the angst. And when you're listening to the language that they're using, that's exactly what you are hearing. Oh, I'm concerned and I'm doubting myself. These are uncertain times, and it's the restlessness. And this is where overcoming social anxiety, you use social intelligence solution number 1. And we looked at that in Empowered Connections Part 1, the trigger tree, because understanding what triggers you puts you in a different place. All of a sudden, you're building that self-awareness where you understand, okay, it's that comment from someone when I'm in a social situation that just triggers me. And it brings me back to a place where I'm not who I am right now. And then I end up making an awful first impression, and that becomes the lasting impression. You want to be able to be self-aware and understand your triggers. Now, in Empowered Connections Part 2, we looked at the self-discovery, the keys to understanding the self, and I walked you through some introspective questions. Because when you can understand yourself and what triggers you and how you show up in social situations, you can be more empowered in those connections. The signs of social anxiety. I want you to be aware of that negative self-talk. That negative self-talk can happen before you go into that social situation because you're basing it on what has happened in the past. And if you are focused on the past, you're going to pull forward the hate that you have for those moments. Oh, I hate going to those cocktail parties. I never know what to say. And all of a sudden, that becomes how you show up because you are priming yourself to behave in ways that might be an old identity, something that just became your default setting. Now, hypersensitive. You know that you are in or experiencing social anxiety when you're more hypersensitive to reviews. If you are a coach or consultant and you are receiving those reviews, you're more hypersensitive instead of looking at it in a very detached way. Opinions, comments, feedback. If you are a manager working with a team, you're more hypersensitive to that. Instead of just looking at it as a way of, okay, well, that's other people that they're projecting onto me their experiences. That's where I want you to look at social intelligence solution number 2. In particular, part 3, we looked at self-efficacy coaching. Sometimes you're going to have to build yourself up, but believe in yourself in social situations and really be able to empower yourself to look at a different framework, to build up a different framework. And then in Empowered Connections Part 4, we looked at what if social distancing becomes the new normal? This is really important. Anytime that we are going out, as of the taping of this video, it's mandatory for people to wear masks in social situations. And it's still the social distancing. Well, how do you read verbal cues? It's very important to be able to listen to people as well. Social anxiety causes inherited traits. Research has shown that social anxiety runs in families. However, research is still being conducted to determine the percentage that genetics play versus learned behavior. So you can't take that, oh, well, everyone is anxious in my family, so I'm going to be anxious. Well, we'll look at in solution how you can move beyond that. But the brain structure, people who have an overactive amygdala may have an equally overactive fear response that can contribute to increased anxiety in social situations. And then the environment. Some people may develop social anxiety after experiencing a humiliating social situation. Well, the amygdala, that's its role to keep you safe in situations that are fearful. And if you've had a humiliating social situation, the amygdala has tagged that, and that is in the memory, so that becomes your trigger response. Also, environment, parents play a role, because if they've displayed anxious behavior in social situations, or if they were controlling or overprotective, that again becomes hardwired in the brain. That's where social intelligence solution number 3 comes into play. Now, even though part number 5 is called the new normal, how to manage time in the new normal, don't be fooled by that title, because managing time is all about managing boundaries and being able to show up and feel like you are in control of a situation. Because sometimes with social anxiety, if you don't feel like you're in control and everybody else overpowers you, then you might not be your best person. And that's where managing impressions, that first impression, so you make a good lasting impression, that is important. Social media anxiety, speaking with so many people, they're like, oh, I don't even want to be on social media because I can't handle it. I can't handle the critical reviews, the opinions, the comments. And that is a number one stopper to you being out there and being successful as a coach, a consultant, or even if you are a part of a team as a manager, that team leader. You can't handle that feedback. And even though it might be constructive, insightful, actionable, impactful, if you shut down, then you are not using this as a tool to become your best in every situation. So social intelligence solution number 4 is about helping you to be confident. And how to be confident coaching. You've got to coach yourself first and then coach others, because being able to handle feedback is important regardless. But if you're feeling anxious, then you're not using it as a tool to be your best. Social anxiety help, relationships, everything that we do, it's a relationship. We are in a relationship with ourselves first, and then we're in relationship with others, and making sure that that relationship is respectful, fair, accepting, as well as appreciative. And I will have these questions on the PDF document for you. But this is where being an empowered listener is key. And in social intelligence solution number 5, we look at that conversation starter. Yes, the title is for coaches and consultants, but it's also if you are working in a team, because listening is key. And that's where you have to be able to step back and look at just simple approaches so that you can be proactive, especially if social anxiety is a problem. Because if you don't have an approach that will work for you, then you are just going in and you're playing with tapes from the past. And those tapes from the past, again, they are hardwired in the amygdala. They will not have you showing up as your exceptional best. And in these days, you want to be able to go out and make those great first impressions that then become lasting great impressions. Now, severe social anxiety, you might be thinking, well, Louise, this is just touching the surface. I have severe social anxiety. And that's where having a mental health approach, cognitive, emotional, behavioral, psychological, gives you more of a treatment, a cure. And in the next video, Empower Connections Part 12, we're going to look at CBT for social anxiety. And we'll look at solutions 6, 7, and 8 for that. But in today's video, I want you to apply what you've learned. You can use it for yourself first, and then use it with your clients, your colleagues, your team, your family, and then thinking about what adjustments you would make, if any, and then, as I'd mentioned, who can benefit. Again, I'm your instructor, Louise Ann Maurice. You want to go to louiseannmaurice.com and download the PDF document that accompanies this video. Remember to be sharing your comments in the comments section below.